Hey everybody. Many of you already know, I'm a man of the people. I will not address you from the high stage. So I'm John Sharp. Everybody mostly calls me Pud. If you already know me, that's probably how you know me, what my name is. So we're going to talk about dance halls of Louisiana. Some of you here already know about this project, so please bear with me. First, I want to say something about the Center for Louisiana Studies, which is my parent organization. It's a three-part group: the UL Press, Programming and Special Events, which is co-worker Jennifer, and Research, which is myself and our archivist Chris Segura. We're the Archive of Cajun Creole Folklore. We have over 20,000 hours of field recordings, and a lot of my research is drawn from that. So, just to give you an idea how this started, I'm from Alabama, so I don't speak French. I do the slightest bit now. I have some comprehension. But working at the archive, I was surrounded by the French language. So there were many things I didn't understand. That some of the things that I could grasp a hold of were the occasional song title, which was in English. So some of these were Hicks Wagon Wheel Special, the B.O. Sparkle Waltz, the OST Special, the China Ball Club Special, the Blue Goose Special. So these are all standard, Cajun standards, songs that many bands play that you would recognize if you live here. Most likely you would recognize the songs. You might not know the names. So I was asking my coworker Chris, what are these songs? Like, why the occasional English title? And he said, oh well, these are all dance hall songs. They're named after dance halls. So I thought, oh, that's cool. What Hicks Wagon Wheel? Where was that? Chris said, I'm really not sure. Chris is sort of an encyclopedia of Cajun music and knowledge. He's a French immersion student, been playing in bands for 20 years, and he's 30 years old. The B.O. Sparkle Waltz. I have no idea where that is, what that is. So I started just realizing there's a huge hole here. I got on the internet, I tried to find pictures, information about these places. I could not do it. I started to ask people, and I'm lucky in that I have people that wander into my office on a regular basis, and one of whom is Professor Barry Onsley. So he's a renowned folklorist and local, well-known local. And I asked Barry, where can I find pictures of this stuff? And he said, there's no pictures in most of those places. There's none of that. And I thought, that's gotta be out there. It's crazy. So I kept complaining to people that none of this stuff was out there in the world and no information was there. You find a little bit here and a little bit there. And finally, someone said, hey, big dummy, you should do that. Stuff is out there, little bits of it, little pieces, but if you're interested, you should check it out. You should put the pieces together. So that's what I started to do. One of the first things that happened, and many of us have had these discussions that were here yesterday about what do you consider a dance hall? Even the title of this symposium draws a distinction between dance halls, juke joints, and honky tonks. And I think that we all know that there are these distinctions. But for my purposes, I've been a little worried that no one's going to come behind and say, find out all the information on honky tonks, or find out the information on juke joints, or even holes in the wall that have bands play. So for the purposes of this, I've decided that I would rather err on the too much information side. So as far as a dance hall, for my purposes, it has a designated dance floor, primarily live music as the entertainment. It's okay if there's a jukebox. It would be better if it's kind of in the corner and not the main focus. And very quickly, as I started to do research, I realized that I needed to really start at the beginning and find out what the roots of this culture were. So dancehall culture really came from the culture of house dances. These were community events. They happened on weekend nights. They were often advertised in the early days by someone riding on horseback, going from the surrounding country and saying, hey, we're having a dance tonight. The community was invited, but it wasn't like just open to anyone. It was only if you were friends, acquaintances, if you were really should be there. For these dances, furniture is removed from the house or sometimes hung on the wall, chairs hung on the wall. Many of these dances had a fade-o-do room where a bedroom was converted into a room where children could be put to sleep while the parents danced. Typically a band would be set up in the corner. In the early days it was a fiddle and accordion. The band needed to be in the corner because sound would project out better that way, and also there needed to be room for people to dance. Many of these houses were small, as you can imagine. The floor plan of an older house is not huge. These are very important in the dating and courting rituals. Many times this is the only place other than church that people would meet young couples. A small number of dancers would be in these places at one time. I heard an interview in the archive with Dennis McGee, who said that typically there would be three rounds of types of songs. There would be a waltz, there would be a two-step, which is a higher pace, and then there would often be a one-step or a mazurka that they would play. And they would kick all those people off the floor, probably 3 or 4 couples, push them off the floor, and let the next group come in and dance. If you were lucky, you got to dance 2 or 3 times in one night. Sometimes the owners of these places served food and drink. Sometimes it was free, sometimes it was for sale. In learning about house dances, one of the main kinds of stories that I came across were these epic pranks that occurred. Most of these were between people who already knew each other. They were the kind of thing that would happen when there was a long-standing kind of disagreement between people. So maybe you would go to the dance and get really drunk. Someone would get your horse, cut all of the hair off its mane, so that you would go out and be unable to find your horse. Because that's not my horse. My horse has a beautiful mane. Also, people would do things like steal each other's horses and take them home. So imagine that you came up to a house in the middle of the country that you rode your horse to, no lights, in the middle of a field, and you walk out into the night and you have no transportation. So it was the kind of thing that friends would do to each other, but also enemies. Another thing, there were a lot of really mean-spirited things that happened too, pranks that we would think are kind of too far. One of the things that happened, people would, and I've heard I've heard 2 different occasions of this, that people caught a stray cat and they got a corn shuck and they rubbed its butt raw with the corn shuck. So it would just be so mad and they would throw it in the window, the open window of a house dance, so that everyone it came into contact with, they would attack them. So this is the kind of thing people did if they wanted to end a dance, or if there were boyfriend, if you broke up with your girlfriend and you didn't want her to be there with somebody else. Additionally, people would use red pepper, and they would have pockets full of it, and they would go into the dance floor and they would drop it onto the floor, and then they would, as they were leaving, they would walk away, and the next group of people would come in, they would start dancing, and just put that pepper in the air, and everybody would have to leave the house. Probably the craziest prank was down the bayou at a dance hall that had a door that led to the bayou. There was also the women's restroom, and it was a small room with a door to the outside. So 2 boys caught a blue crab, and they put it in the chamber pot. And the poor woman who sat on the chamber pot and found out there was a crab in there yelled loud enough to stop the band. When you're talking about stuff like this, these community events before sort of public entertainment, and this was the public entertainment, fights are always going to be a big issue and a big topic. There's a story about a guy that was well known as a bottle thrower, and if you had a problem with him, he would never fight you on even ground. 2 guys trading licks. He would catch you dancing at a dance hall by an open window and throw a bottle in and knock you out. So some of these stories I've got from the archive and some from people who have passed down in families. But fights and pranks, they started at house dances and then they continued to the dance hall. Before we start to talk about dance halls, just as a reminder, all these things are highly segregated, as our society really is today. But the house dances particularly were very segregated. One of the exceptions was the band of Amadei Ardoin and Dennis McGee, who renowned string band who played together, accordion and fiddle that played together and made some very important recordings. So from the house dances, when money became more available, people had jobs. It wasn't so much a subsistence living, they had extra income. Dance halls were open. These weren't buildings that were built to be dance halls in the beginning, they were retrofitted, as Dave Sherman mentioned. The buildings themselves were, they started as grocery stores, some of them, and turned into bars, and then they went from there into full-on dance halls. But the big difference was that this wasn't your invited friends and family and neighbors. This was open to the public. Anyone who could pay to get in could be there, and sometimes that caused lots of problems. So the early dance hall buildings much more resemble the buildings that we see, the Texas buildings, the Texas dance halls. More of an open floor plan, open rafters. Some of them, as we talked about a little bit yesterday, the windows were actually just boards that flipped up on the side of the building. So these images are from the Office of War Information Farm Security photos. These are the earliest photos of any known dance hall. This is 1934. It's the Le Dance Hall, Cajun Dancehalls. So it's Le, Louisiana. It's an unincorporated community near Crowley.
How do you spell it?
Leeux. This photo has a lot going on. some of the things that, oh yeah, okay. So this man here is Mr. Lala. He was the owner. This is a makeshift ticket booth. When men pay, and there would be some kind of a ticket attached to their collar. Sometimes some of these communities, they just knew each other and they knew if you paid today. So Mr. Lala is sitting here. This area behind with all these men is called the bullpen. And this is where young men or unmarried would stay and wait. They would be there until they asked a woman to dance. So they weren't just allowed to roam freely. In some of these places, there was a designated area for the bar, which is unseen in any of these photos. Also, sometimes a card room. You can see a little bit of a seating rail here behind. Sometimes it's continued all the way around the dance floor. Sometimes there were raised areas for more of a stadium type seating for people to watch the dancers. And also here's the band here. And this, we can see they're around a microphone. So many times that was not the case. Before electricity, some people have said that's one of the reasons the accordion, had a level of popularity that it did because it carried. Sort of in the courting and separation vein, it was very common for women and men to be separate at these dances. This was sort of like the equivalent of going to church. It's the only other activity that many people did other than work. This is the only time that they saw each other. So, for the most part, the sexes were kept pretty separate. So it's pretty common in all these old photos and in the stories for the women to all be together in one area and the men another. Here's another shot of the bullpen. And also notice I heard the story that Mr. Lala's brother here heard that a photographer from the U.S. government was going to be there. So he went home and put on his best clothes. As I mentioned about courtship, this was a place for people to meet, spend time together, get to know each other before actually dating or getting married. At this time, many of the people went straight to marriage from courtship. So the mothers and grandmothers would typically watch and stay inside, while many times the fathers were out drinking, talking outside the building. And several stories that I've heard, people said that they would dance and they would go there with their mom and their grandmother, and that they would sit in this stadium kind of seating, and they would watch them dance around the floor, and as they would look over, they would see their mother and their grandmother looking at them very intently. And as they got closer, they would pull down their glasses and further away lift them up. It's kind of like NASCAR, The wedding dance was something that came up a lot. A lot of times if I meet people and they have a story about a dance hall, they met in a dance hall. They first saw each other at a dance hall. Then, if that dance hall played a large enough role in their life together, they got married, sometimes in the dance hall, or they had their wedding dance at the dance hall. But the thing that I didn't see coming was, now if you're going to have your reception somewhere, you pay So you paid Vermilionville to have your reception here. Back in the day, a dance hall paid the couple to have their reception at the dance hall because people would drink more freely, spend more money at such a large event. So several dance hall owners said, oh, that was good business. That made a lot of sense. Drinking in the early dance halls was not so much of a story. It was much more of a family environment. All ages came together, stayed all night together. When the kids fell asleep, they would just put them on the floor underneath those benches and keep dancing. Drinking mostly occurred on the outside with liquor and beer brought by the individuals. Of course, sorry John, go ahead.
Do you know who those musicians are?
No, and I've never seen the names. But given some of the people that I've met recently who've ID'd many, I bet that I know the right people to find out. Remind me of that, I'll try to find that out. Fighting in the dance halls was, in the early dance halls where people paid to get in, was a huge part of the entertainment. I went to talk to Cajun musician D.L. Menard, and I asked him, did you see a lot of fights in the dance halls? And he said, oh, if you went out for the weekend and you didn't see a fight and you weren't in a fight, it was like nothing happened. There was nothing to talk about. It was boring. So, oh boy. And I had another interview with swamp pop musician Johnny Allen. And I was asking him, did you see a lot of fights over the years? And he said, oh yeah, I saw a man get his ear bit off one time. I said, oh wow, tell me that story. And he said, I saw a man get his ear bit off. I don't know what else I was hoping for. But fighting was a huge thing. There was an area that was in the oil patch that was renowned for fighting, where a man would walk in. There would be a board inside the door. A man would walk in, stab his knife into the wall, and then hang his hat on it. And if it was to say, if anybody wants to find me, I'm here and I'm ready to go. Of course, music. Let's not forget there was music at the dance halls. It's been very interesting to talk to the musicians, particularly older musicians who have a story very much about being able to keep a crowd happy and to keep a crowd, because they were, for the most part, musicians were hired on a monthly kind of a basis. They would play on a regular basis on a certain night. Either that or a band was just guys from a neighborhood. Many times I would ask people, oh, did you used to go to this club, this dance hall, who was the band? And they have no idea who the people were. It wasn't a celebrity kind of a thing. It was for entertainment. Music by neighbors for neighbors. Only later, after World War II, was that really like a big thing, who the band was. But most of the bands tell the story of if somebody came up and they said, I want to hear this song, and you didn't know it, next week, when you play, you better be able to play that song. Because if you want to keep those people coming, keep them happy, keep getting paid. And a lot of these people, they made a lot more than working in the field playing in the band, so they had to be very smart. Also, the same kind of thing with the dancers. If a band played a song and nobody danced, I would immediately fall out. You know, they had to be able to work the crowd. They had to be able to know. But you have to keep the dancers happy, because if the dancers aren't happy, the dance hall owner's not happy. People stop coming because they're bored with the band, or the, you know, then it hurts the bottom line. So here's an example of the difference over the years. That's the Lula Dance Hall on the left, and then the Crawfish Festival on the right. Segregation is still there, although that barrier is broken occasionally. Because of my living in Lafayette, there are two main kinds of dance halls that I've come across: Cajun and Zydeco. I've been lucky in that a few of the Zydeco clubs and dance halls have still been open during this time, and I've got to visit with people there, and go there and meet the owners, and meet a lot of musicians there, and get information from people. This is Slim's, Waikiki, and Opelousas. It actually recently closed, and the reason that was given was that the younger generation did not show proper respect. There was always a problem, and always drama, and always a bunch of mess to clean up after a weekend dance. But another reason is that the owner, Tony Grabby, works in the oil field in North Dakota, and he relies on his family to help him keep it going. It's a lot of work. Miller's Zydeco Hall of Fame, formerly Richard's Club. Oh, I should say Slim's is built in the late 40s. Miller's or Richard's also built in the late 40s. It has down times where there are no dances sometimes for months, special occasion only, more of a rental hall kind of a feeling. This is the Davis Lounge in Cecilia. Really interestingly, inside that dance hall, there's another club. It was built around another club, a brick building called the Blue Dahlia. And it's very interesting. So on the inside, there's one area, and then there's very distinctly another building inside that building. It's very strange. But it's closed now as well. Whiskey River, which is a bar on the levee in Henderson. It was originally a marina and boat launch, and they built a back porch so that they could have fish weigh-ins at tournaments. They've only been having music since the late 90s, but it's very much an institution in live local music. For the most part, it's a Zydeco hall, but it depends on the occasion. A lot of different bands play there. El Cido's here in Lafayette is R&B Blues and Zydeco Club. It's also really only a special occasion place. There's a couple of they have a show on for Thanksgiving. Sometimes they have a show for Mother's Day, and usually you can get into either one of those shows with canned goods or money. But it's always an all-star event that you can see 10 people, all the bands hanging out together, playing together. There have been some I was able to find some information on some earlier Zydeco clubs and mostly some rural clubs. This is the Cowboy Club in DeRauld, which was owned by Boissac Ardouin. And he and his family ran that club. Many people filmed there, took photos there. Alan Lomax included it in several of his fieldwork journeys. The Clifton Chenier Club Oh, I'm sorry, and the Cowboy Club is a couple of boards still standing up back in the woods now. The Clifton Chenier Club, which is in Lauraville, is still there. It's a beautiful building, very rarely used. But inside is somewhat of a shrine to Clifton Chenier. Many of his photos of himself in the backstage dressing room and posters. It's a great place, but it's very rarely open. And then the Offshore Lounge, here on the bottom right, which is in Lawtell, not far from Miller's, but back in the neighborhood. It's also, this was originally opened by, it was really originally in the 1940s. It was called the Gin Side Inn because there was a cotton gin next door. Then it was bought by Roy Carrier in the 80s and turned into, after sitting with nothing going on for a while, and turned into the Offshore Lounge. And it is always, it's kind of perpetually almost open again. You know, there's always, I think the latest problem is there's some plumbing issues, or it's a septic tank. There's a septic tank issue, and they're trying to get that. But it's a great place. It's another big, long, open room. Another well-known club is Hamilton's Club, or Hamilton's Place here in Lafayette. It's on Barrow School Road. Many people drive by it every day, and it's the last show there, I believe, was 2006. And the family, as a kind of a typical thing, the family just tired of running it and decided to use it for special events. The building is still in great shape inside and out, just not interested in having visitors anymore. In the early 80s began something that we also touched on yesterday, maybe at lunch, or Farron, you might know better. Is it the late 70s for White Night? Sometimes people say it's the late 70s, but the first time I've seen it in print is the early 80s, that they advertised White Night, which was the kind of an advertising thing to say to the community, particularly the college students, this night's okay, Monday night, it's the White Night. It's okay for you to come be in our club. But I think it was also just as much to warn the regulars, there's going to be a bunch of weird college kids in here on Monday night. But it's a very well-known place. It was originally a rural Creole club, but town has encroached to way past it now, and it just seems very out of place. But people say it's very well known as the place that Lafayette learned to Zydeco. The other kind of club that I get most often informed about or find is a Cajun dance hall. This is the French Casino, which is outside of Mamou. This building used to be downtown, and they moved it to this spot to save it from being destroyed. It's had a life, it closed in the 70s. It's had a life since then as a rock club after some time, an adult bookstore. It now serves as a storage unit basically for T. Ed Manuel's old jukeboxes and vending machines run by his son Eugene. This is Bork's Club, which is in Lewisburg. This is another building that I've been lucky enough to go in. It was built in the 50s, the early 50s. Many people knew it. There were regular jams there. There's a big back room for a an actual dance hall room, and the jams were in the front bar. But many of the people that I talked to said, we used to go to Bork's all the time, and the overwhelming story was that when it rained, the whole building leaked. So every time that it would rain, the people, the owners there, Elaine Bork, she would run out and put these buckets on all the tables. And enough people told me that it stuck in my memory. So I guess 2 years ago, I got to go inside the building. It's completely fallen apart. We almost fell through the floor in several portions. All those buckets are sitting on those tables. And they're filled with water, and the water overflowed, dripped down the legs of the tables, and has rotted the floor. So the tables still have the tablecloths on them, these plastic red tablecloths. But the tables have fallen all the way through the floor. It was really, truly an amazing experience to be able to go in there and to see that. And if you're going to be here tomorrow, Philip Gould, I'm sure will show some photos. I was with him. We went in. This is the barn, this is the Lakeview Club out at Lakeview. They don't have shows there now, but it was an original dance hall. This is the place that supposedly they cut a hole in the ceiling over the stage because Mark Savoy decided he wanted to stand up when he played accordion. Many people played there over the years, the Balfe brothers. But it's sort of also in a state of perpetual, almost ready to be reopened. And they would, it's my understanding, they would like to move out of the barn, which is where they currently have bands play, and back into the actual club. And this is Guidry's Friendly Lounge, which is also in Lewisburg. In a project like this, many are asking people where something was. And the first time that I went to Lewisburg, I saw some people in the front yard and said, "Where's the Guidry's Friendly Lounge?" And it was two older people, and they were raking, and they both just looked at me, and one pointed that way, the other one pointed that way. I was like, "Yeah, this is like what this project is like." I just get conflicting information constantly. But the funny thing is, Lewisburg is round. It's just a little strip that goes in a circle. So they were both right. I just didn't know what the hell I was talking about, which is also very typical of how things have gone. But I got there just in time to see the last big pile of trash being picked up, of the club being completely torn down, and all that there was is a concrete pad and a couple of old beer pull tops, and that was it. This is the China Ball Club, which is in Bristol. This is another one of those clubs that has a song about it, but is also long gone. Fontenot's Main Street in Basile. This is the Hollywood Club in Rain. In Rain, sorry. The OST nightclub in Crowley, named after the old Spanish Trail, which is the road that it's located on, also all gone. So there are a few of these kind of dinosaur places, and one of which is La Poussière, which is in Breaux Bridge. Not that long ago, I guess 2 years ago, there was a tornado that ripped off part of the roof, got a lot of water damage. Jennifer and I ran out there the next day to go see the damage, and literally the next day, they were already fixing the roof. But it wasn't the club owners. The night before, as soon as people heard about the damage, the people who play there on a regular basis all just got on the phone to each other and said, "Okay, we gotta have a fundraiser to fix the roof. Is this date gonna work for you?" They set up an all-star lineup, and then they called the club owner to say, hey, we want to come fix, don't worry about the repairs, go ahead, we're going to pay for it, we're going to make it work. What they didn't know is that the dance hall owner was kind of like, oh God, well, this is it. Oh, it's really not that bad. It's a good time to get out of the business. So, but since then he came around and decided he would keep it open. But he said pretty much that the decision, he didn't make the decision, it was made for him. One of the other main kinds of places is swamp pop and rock dance also. Here we have the Southern Club, which this is in the 80s. I think it's 84. And that we were yesterday, you can see there was a sign on top that's been gone a long time. Here is Landry's Palladium, which was a very well-known rockabilly and early rock place on the way to Scott from here to the west of town on 90. The Step-In Club, which was in Lawtell, and beside it was another dance hall that was a swamp pop place. In between these two clubs, that Sunday afternoon, they would just shut down the town with traffic. Most of these places, it's pretty common for there to be a story about cars to be a mile in every direction on the road, and the same for Lawtell. This is, some clubs, they go through a life cycle. They start as a country bar, or a rock place, a swamp pop place. So this is Cal's Plantation that went through, and it was right down from the Southern Club, but it went through a life cycle that started as a swamp pop place, turned into a country place. Before it was torn down, they had punk rock shows there. Then later they had Zydeco bands play there. So it's whatever keeps the doors open, whatever keeps people coming. Many of these places, they weren't just a dance hall. There was a restaurant attached. There were other kinds of things. Yesterday, several of us talked about the sort of side business of prostitution. That was always a back room. Illegal gambling tables, things of that nature. But one of the most interesting is probably the cockfighting clubs. So this is Jay Salchier from Jay's Cockpit, which is in Campton. And this is one of the few pictures that I've ever seen. Most people just said that was really gross and don't want to talk about it. But the bartenders there said that you would reach into the cooler to get out a beer, and quite frequently you'd pull it out and it would have feathers on it and blood from the losers, which were being kept to make a gumbo. This is, of all the places that I've learned about, this is the place that I most wish that I could go. Because probably my most favorite stories and the bands that played there, and it was kind of where Cajun met Cosmic Cowboy at a weird time frame, where things got very interesting around here. The 1980s, the World's Fair being in New Orleans in 84, and a little bit before that, brought the rise of the Dancehall Restaurant. It's your one-stop shop. You get something to eat, you get to see authentic music, as much as I hate to use that word. There's a whole lot of culture that you can get in one shot at a place like this. So, Mulots, which is not, this is the Burbridge Mulots. There was also one in New Orleans. Now this is Pomp Rose, which is on the schedule of something that you might want to do tomorrow night. This is down in Homa. The name is escaping me. But anyway, it's another dance hall restaurant in Homa, which is very unusual. There's not really a very strong Cajun culture public component there these days. And then also this is Cafe des Amis in Breaux Bridge, which is now very renowned for their Zydeco breakfast. As through my job, I work at several of the festivals, recording, helping out in various ways. And I realized that this is very much the same thing. It's instant community, a very strong sense of place and belonging with all the other components of a dance hall, all in one place. So Zydeco Festival in Plaisance, Festival of Cayenne here in the park, Girard Park here in Lafayette, Black Pot Festival, which is now held on the campus that you're on today, most of it in this very room. And this is Step and Strut Trail Ride. So another very interesting thing. So one of the things I didn't see coming was the amount of ways that I would have information thrown at me. Yesterday I joked when we went to eat lunch that I like to eat at a place that I can find out something, I can look around on the walls and find out some new information. I can get a new dance hall. Well, I didn't realize that it's everywhere. It's all around us, and all I had to do was really start to pay attention. So, matchbooks. I've never been a matchbook collector, but this has become a recent obsession. Many times, the only information that I can find is on a matchbook. And it's great because, as you'll notice, the owner, the manager, pretty graphic. There's a lot there. It's a lot of information. Show posters, an incredible resource. They're everywhere, but it's just coming across them. Whoops. The Sanborn insurance maps. Anybody familiar? Oh my God, so much stuff in the Sanborn insurance maps. So just to look through the ones from the area and find out, what was there on these maps. It's not always the easiest thing to decipher, but it's just it's incredible. Of course, I did a lot of old newspaper digging. This is one of my favorites. The Saturday Blade says a ghost appeared here. Near a dance hall near here on Opelousas, which has a large patronage every Saturday night. Last Saturday night, the figure of a woman dressed in all white appeared. And of course, most of these are like bloodshed, horrible stories. But this was a fun one. So. Also, old phone books and city directories. Advertisement in those kind of things, the Blue Goose and Eunice. Ashtrays, the hotel lounge, the Holiday Lounge in Mamu. And of course, tons of audio field work done by other people, a lot done by myself. Information has been everywhere once I decided to reach out and grab it. I don't know if I can make this play, so it's not going to play. But one of the most surprising things is that when we started to do kind of get the word out, the things that we are looking for. Things that I never dreamed that I would find. 16 millimeter film of dance hall. This is a dance hall presumed to be in Louisiana because of the collection that it came from. The front of it says the Cotton Club. It had the same kind of front as the Southern Club, stepped parapet. So, but I wish that I could show you this, but it's not going to work, I'm sorry. 16 millimeter film, 8 millimeter film. Sometimes when I've been talking to dance hall owners, I say, I wish somebody had made movies, and they say, oh, you want that kind of stuff? And it's all, oh, it's in my attic, I'll get it out. And that's actually what I do, is digitization of archival materials. So that makes me scared when something's in somebody's attic. But the amount of things that we've come across just from asking a few people is amazing. So these places, where are they? What happened to all these dance halls? Of the few that I showed you, I have some information over 1,600 of these places. So some of them now, people say, oh, the Good Hope Hall is here in Lafayette. It was a huge jazz hall. Very well known, well traveled, people from all over played there. Where was that? Where is that? It's a lawyer's office. It still says Good Hope all over the door, but you wouldn't know it if you went inside. This is Webster's Meat Market in Cecilia. I met with the owner of Webster's Dance Hall and asked her, what happened to the building? We cut it in half. We stored hay in one half, and we made a meat market out of the other half. The meat market's still there. Sausage is pretty good. But I went in, and as soon as I walked in the door, the way that these boards are at a 90-degree angle, I could tell that I just walked onto the dance floor. It's very strange. And to look around the building, they let me look everywhere. You can tell where the coolers were because the floor has stains. And so many of the buildings are still around, but some of them returned to their former uses, and some of them have gone on to new life. This is the Midway Club in Evangeline, Louisiana. It looks like an antique store, but it's actually the home for the Banditos biker gang of that area. It's their clubhouse. They were really nice and let me spend a little time with them. So I always ask people, why did these dance halls close? What happened? The most often repeated reason is that all of the people who used to come to the dance quit coming to the dance. So when people got older, all the people who had a renewed interest in their culture, particularly after World War II, the huge resurgence, and then as those people grew older and they went out less or they died, the number dwindled and continues to dwindle, it just didn't make sense anymore. Most people that own a dance hall now, they say it's an incredibly expensive hobby. That's how they describe it. They love to be there, and they love their clientele, and they love everything about it. But several of them say, mostly all I can think about is how sad it is, how different it is, that this place used to be packed. And I used to worry about the floor falling through with people dancing on it. And now, they have people who come from all over the state every weekend to go to these places where there's still dances. If you ask the owners of Zydeco clubs what happened, almost every one of them will blame the casino. The rise of the casino, the same bands, they hired the bands away, they pay them more money. That buffet's got a lot on it. Those drinks are cheap. And that's what they all say. Pretty much every single one they blame the casino. I want to make sure that one of the last things I say to you is that all these places aren't gone. I'm still finding out about places, both that are gone and that are open, that have bands constantly, that new spots are always coming up. So the Whiskey River, every weekend. The Davis Club just closed. Siddo's, occasional. Clifton Chenier Club, sometimes. Every weekend, the Holiday Lounge in Mamu is open. The interior is amazing. Glow-in-the-dark, day-glow silhouettes of cutouts of women with black lights. It's a very strange place. But if you get a chance, you should definitely go there. Tell Eugene that I told you. Of course, there are new places opening. One of our most well-known and popular here in town is a Blue Moon Saloon. The dance floor is pretty small, but it's pretty, go there at the right time, and I think you get somewhat of a glimpse of what maybe the new version, the new paradigm of a dance hall is. Part of the thing that I've done, I'm making a documentary film about dance halls in Louisiana. And originally that was what I was really excited about. But when I started to do research, the research overwhelmed the film because, like I said, I have over 1,600 sites that I've documented. So I had to decide something to do to try to put that in this era of public information. I wanted people to help me find out more information. So I decided I would make a dance hall website, and there's a map. You can look everything up by keywords, and there's photos when I have them. Many of them I don't have photos of. And there's quite a few that I don't have any information, but I just know that I met a guy in line at the grocery store and he told me that he used to dance there. And I believe that guy. And I'm waiting for more information. So I have on the website, if you guys get a chance, just check it out. I have over 1,600 sites currently. And I always kind of do this at the end. Somebody here knows something that I don't know yet. So please add to the information pool. And that's it.